scene on Friday night at the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, Missouri. They celebrated the millennium as well here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And today, Fox Sports welcomes you to Veterans Stadium as the Eagles host the 13-2 St. Louis Rams. Happy New Year, everybody. Kenny Albert along with Tim Green. It's been a terrific 1999 for the St. Louis Rams. Headed to the playoffs with home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. They will have a bye next week. Now, as far as the Eagles are concerned, a young team under first-year head coach Andy Reid, a rookie quarterback out of Syracuse in Donovan McNabb. And the Eagles are not looking at today's game as the last game of 1999, but as the first game of 2000.
It's a tough way to start the year because the Rams are an offensive juggernaut. I think the Rams are the best team in football right now. And the only way that the Eagles or any team in the playoffs is going to be able to beat the Rams is by getting turnovers. In the two games the Rams lost, they were -5 in turnovers. And the only way to get turnovers is to disrupt the rhythm of the offense. So that means getting after Kurt Warner. The problem is most times teams go after Kurt Warner with a blitz and he beats them with a big play, dumps it off to Falk or Isaac Bruce. Now, the one thing the Rams have that a lot of people haven't talked about, when you think about the playoffs, the Rams have a defense that's better than all the other contenders in the NFC. When you think about Minnesota, when you think about Washington, the two other powerful offensive teams, neither of those teams has quite the defense that the Rams have, and I think the Rams are going to go all the way.
And the Rams defense has scored 8 touchdowns this year. The rallying cry this week in St. Louis, win this one for Dick. Dick Vermeil, the former head coach of the Eagles, who led Philadelphia to the Super Bowl 19 years ago.
The following presentation of the National Football League.
Back in Philadelphia, Kenny Albert with Tim Green. Eagles beat the Rams last year here on a Thursday night, 17-14. Eagles have won the last 5 over the Rams. Today's game is available in Spanish by utilizing the SAP button on your television. Beautiful 60-degree day here on January 2nd, 2000 in Philadelphia. Now up to 62 degrees as Jeff Wilkins gets set for the opening kickoff. The Eagles, with a record of 4-11, have won the toss and will receive. Wilkins, a former Eagle. Alan Rossum, 5th in the NFC in the kick return department. The Eagles special teams MVP, back deep along with Eric Bieniemy. Wilkins' kickoff is taken by Rossum at the 1-yard line. Rossum across the 25 to the 27. Ron Carpenter downfield on the Rams special teams unit to make the stop. A 26-yard return. Donovan McNabb returning after missing the New England game with a left knee injury. He is wearing a brace. This is his 6th start. Thomas Brzezinski, Everett, Dellenbach, and Polalay, the men protecting McNabb. Deuce Staley over 1,000 yards for the 2nd straight year. Torrance Small, Dave Brown are the wideouts, and the tight end is former Ram Chad Lewis, who played with St. Louis earlier this season. 1st and 10 for the Eagles from their own 27. Off the plate fake, on 1st down, McNabb going for the big play. He was looking for Dave Brown, and he overthrew him. Double coverage, Devin Bush and Dexter McCleon for the 9th-ranked Rams defense. The defense has scored 8 touchdowns this year. Kevin Carter going to the Pro Bowl, leading the league with 16 sacks. What a job London Fletcher has done. Undrafted last year out of Division III, John Carroll. Bush filling in for the injured Keith Lyle. Todd Light heading to his first Pro Bowl. 2nd and 10 from the 27. Deuce Staley still on his feet up to the 32-yard line. A gain of 5. Todd Light in on the stop along with Grant Wistrom.
Well, Deuce Staley has been the mainstay of this Philadelphia offense, and the Rams defense today wants to make sure he does not get to 100 yards on the ground. They have not given up 100 yards to any rusher all season long.
Staley, 99 yards against the Rams in the game last year. Gained 6 yards on second down, setting up 3rd and 4. Staley cuts to the outside, has the first down, and more into Rams territory to the St. Louis 48, but a penalty marker in the offensive backfield, and this one will be brought back, says our referee, Mike Carey.
It'll probably be against Trey Thomas, because Trey Thomas was the guy that gave Deuce Staley the corner. And anytime you give someone the corner, a lot of times you're going to end up grabbing. Here's Trey Thomas right here. You see he's on Grant Wistrom. That may not be the call.
Offense number 72.
It is.
10 yards, 3rd down.
Now that's usually where you see it, and that's usually where the hold occurs. Because he's got a tough job. He's got a guy who's pass rushing outside of him, and when he realizes that Staley is going to try to break to the corner, he wants to give it to him. So the natural thing is to grab on.
Trey Thomas, the first-round draft pick a year ago out of Florida State. And this forces the Eagles back 10 yards, setting up 3rd and 14. 3 wide receivers set. The tight end, Lewis, shifting. Here's McNabb. 3rd and 14. Thrown to the near side, incomplete. The intended receiver, the former St. Louis Ram, Torrance Small, Dexter McCleon on the coverage.
Well, this is exactly what the Eagles didn't want to have happen to Donovan McNabb. He drops back here, and watch Wistrom. He just runs right around Trey Thomas and then puts the whip right on Donovan McNabb. McNabb, again, they said, Andy Reid said, if his mobility is limited because of that brace, they may take him out of the game. They don't want him to be hurt. He is the future of this franchise.
Former Ram Sean Landeta with his first punt of the day. Oz Hakeem from the 35. He lost the football. And the Eagles have recovered.
We talked about it just a couple minutes ago, Kenny. This is the only way that teams have been able to defeat the Rams this season is with turnovers.
There is a penalty marker on the field.
The 2 games they lost to Detroit and they lost to Tennessee, and they were -5 in those 2 games in the turnover category. That's going to come back because the penalty is against the Eagles.
The fumble was recovered by Philadelphia. However, there's an eligible member of the kicking team on Philadelphia, number 58. 5 yards, 4th down.
That's Ike Reese. He's a linebacker, and what happens is, unless you're one of the gunners, one of the outside guys, you have to stay on the line of scrimmage until the ball is kicked. It's similar to an illegal man downfield on a pass play.
So 2 early penalties committed by Andy Reid's Eagles. So Landeta will do it again. Back at his own 5-yard line. End over end punt. Hakeem this time from the 45. Across midfield. Cuts to the outside. And this time hangs on to the football. Forced down by Rashard Cook. 37-yard punt by Landeta. 16 on the return by Hakeem. Kurt Warner, what an unbelievable season for the former Arena Leaguer and NFL Europe quarterback. Leads the NFL with 39 touchdown passes, over 4,000 yards. He will start the Pro Bowl for the NFC. Orlando Pace also headed to Hawaii. Terrific job by the offensive line this year. Newton, Rudidoria, Timmerman, and Miller. Marshall Faulk, 36 yards shy of breaking Barry Sanders' NFL record for total yards from scrimmage in one season. Rams start with 3 wide receivers from the Eagles 39. And the pass is caught by the tight end Roland Williams for a gain of 9 yards down to the Philadelphia 30. Troy Vincent made the tackle. Eagles defense ranked 22nd under coordinator Jim Johnson. Mike Mabula, 3 sacks in the Eagles' last game against New England. He was named NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Thomas Trotter and the rookie out of Northwestern, Barry Gardner. Harris for the injured Bobby Taylor. And Brian Dawkins heading to the Pro Bowl. Marshall Faulk, first down, pushing his way to the Eagles' 23-yard line, a gain of 7.
The Rams right now look like they're just trying to do some tendency breakers for whoever's going to face them in the playoffs. Look at this formation here. They got a fullback here, a fullback here, and a tailback here, and they run a running play with it. And the first play they came out was a pass to the tight end, Roland Williams. So I think part of what the Rams want to do today, they want to win the game, they want to set some records, but they also want to break some offensive and defensive tendencies for their upcoming opponents.
Here's Falk. We worked the game last week, Tim, against Chicago, and Falk gained a combined 254 yards.
Right, and he needs only 36 yards from scrimmage to break Barry Sanders' all-time NFL record. And Dick Vermeil told me right before the game down on the field, he said, hey, I want Marshall to break that record, and I also want Kurt Warner to get his 40th touchdown pass and be only the second NFL player besides Dan Marino to accomplish that.
Falk with 12 yards so far on the ground. The fullback, Robert Holcomb, in motion. 2 tight ends set. And Warner's pass deflected and picked off. So the Rams have turned it over. Tim Houck with the first interception of his 10-year NFL career.
That's a great heads-up play by Houck, but Barry Gardner, the linebacker for the Eagles, popped that ball out of the coverage. The Eagles found the only way you could beat the Rams is with a turnover.
This is first career interception.
Look at that smile. I mean, that's what happens. You wait 10 years. Tim Houck is a hitter. He's a run stopper, and he's not the guy that comes up with the interceptions, but because he plays so aggressively to the ball, he was at the right place at the right time. It just took 10 years.
First and 10 from the 12. Staley bottled up. No gain on the play. Mike Jones along with Ray Agnew on the tackle.
Kenny, as I said before we went to commercial, Barry Gardner is the guy with the coverage right there, and he's got nice coverage on Marshall Faulk, and then Tim Houck is in the perfect position. You know, the Eagles talked yesterday, Jim Johnson, about covering Marshall Faulk, and they said they'd try initially to do it with a linebacker, but no linebacker has been able to cover him. They said they may have to go to a defensive back.
McNabb's pass caught by Torrance Small, and he's thrown to the turf by Todd Collins. And Jim Johnson, the Eagles defensive coordinator, knows Marshall Faulk very well. Johnson was with the Colts, and Faulk, of course, began his NFL career in Indy.
On that last play with McNabb throwing the pass out there, you get to see, again, we've seen the Eagles a couple times now in the last 4 or 5 weeks, and you get to see the strength of Donovan McNabb's arm. He just zips that ball out to the perimeter, and it's there before you blink.
3rd and 6 from the 16. 3 wide receivers. McNabb under pressure, and the pass is picked off. Mike Jones, who has 3 touchdowns this year. Jones inside the 10, down to the 8.
Well, I'll tell you right now that Donovan McNabb's knee is affecting him because he's used to being able to scramble away from the rush and set his feet and then make that throw. But I think that knee brace didn't enable him to get his feet set. Watch him here. He dodges the rush right there, and then I don't think he got his feet set right. And that ball came out of there real wobbly, and that's what led to the interception. You see it there? You see, he never got his feet back on the ground.
4th interception of the season for Jones, setting up 1st and goal on the 8-yard line. So each team with an early turnover. Warner looking end zone, and Ernie Conwell, the tight end who has played in only 3 games this year, coming back from reconstructive knee surgery, could not hang on to it.
And Ernie Conwell said last week he was glad just to get out there and throw some blocks and uncork against some big 300-pounders. But this pass is perfectly thrown, and look, Conwell, he's wide open, so that's one that, you know, they wanted to get him back into that offensive rhythm. Dick Vermeil felt he could really help their offense in the playoffs.
Rams outstanding in the red zone this year. Warner out of the shotgun, a high snap, shovel pass to Faulk, and he is in for the touchdown. Marshall Faulk bob and weave, the Rams' patented celebration this season.
You know, the bad snap, I think, actually helped that play. Because when you're a defensive lineman or a linebacker, and you see that snap go up there high in the air, you get excited because you think, all right, now we got a chance because the quarterback's going to be off rhythm, and then you really go for him. And then I think that led to the upfield pursuit and then opened that whole thing up easily for Marshall Faulk on the shovel.
Jeff Wilkins has the point after. Marshall Faulk into the end zone to give the Rams the early lead.
Again, with that high snap that drew the defense upfield, and then the shovel pass was an easy one. That was not the most glorious touchdown pass for Warner, but I'm sure he'll take it.
Allen Rossum, big return. Rossum into Rams territory, forced out of bounds by Ron Carpenter. A 70-yard return, and with that 70-yard run, Allen Rossum sets a new Eagles team record for most kick return yards in one season, breaking Derek Witherspoon's mark.
Well, Rossum has great speed, and what he does, he goes away from his wedge. So the wedge draws all the defenders in, and then Rossum breaks it to the outside of the wedge, and that's where the opening is.
Rossum in his second year out of Notre Dame. It is not his longest return of the season. Return 189 yards. From the Rams 26, McNabb chased by Kevin Carter, rolling right, and is taken out of bounds by Mike Jones.
Once again, Donovan McNabb's mobility is limited. I don't know how limited. I don't know if you can put a number on that, but this is a play. Kevin Carter comes through, nice pass rush. This is a play that Donovan McNabb, would typically turn into about a 15-yard gain. He'd take that thing right upfield and run it, and he is definitely being affected by that injury.
First sack of the year for Jones, who also had an interception earlier. On 2nd and 19, Staley, not much. Gains just 1 yard, so it will be 3rd and long for the Eagles.
One of the problems Deuce Staley and the Eagles running game is going to have today is that the Rams really don't respect the Eagles wide receivers. They feel that with their cornerbacks, Todd Light and Dexter McLeon, that they can basically put those guys out there and take away Torrance Small and Nate Brown, and they can stack Billy Jenkins, the strong safety, up in the box and play 8, outnumber the Eagles and shut down their run.
And the Eagles send out 3 wide receivers on 3rd down and 18. McNabb does a 360 and then hits the tight end Luther Bruck. Stopped well short, about 12 yards shy of the first down marker by London Fletcher after a gain of just 6.
Well, Broughton did a nice job just breaking the tackle because Mike Jones came up and was on him right away. And I think that's the thing that Broughton does best of anything. He's not a great blocker, but when he catches the ball downfield, he's shown an ability to make guys miss and to use his size as a tight end.
And now David Akers, usually the kickoff man, who has attempted 5 field goals this year, now to attempt the 46-yarder. And Akers' kick is good. So David Akers now 3 of 6 on the season, attempting the field goal instead of the veteran, Norm Johnson. 7-3, St. Louis.
Brilliant job, Kenny.
And the Rams team, with that touchdown, become the 7th team in NFL history to reach 500 points. They are now 6th, and they could move all the way up to 3rd. They score 12 more.
Kenny Albert on the telestrator, ladies and gentlemen.
I know you were busy yesterday with the Cotton Bowl. Your finger is probably worn out from diagramming from the Texas-Arkansas game as Tony Horn brings it back 17 yards, stopped by Mike Caldwell. 7-3 lead for the Rams midway through the first quarter from the vet. It's certainly is. I see you attend the history class.
Well, it looked like, I know they fixed it, but it looked like they had it patched up.
And Warner is taken down by Mike Mamula, who had 3 sacks in the Eagles' last game against New England.
Well, the Eagles, I said it, you want to blitz Kurt Warner, so here comes William Thomas. The defensive end goes out, and watch Mamula loops around. So the center picks up Thomas, the blitzer, and the path is clear for Mike Mamula. This is the way that you can disrupt the Rams, and probably the only way.
A new career high, 8.5 sacks for Mamula. 2nd and 17. Marshall Faulk. Faulk up to the 24-yard line. A gain of 11, and he is now 4 yards shy of tying Barry Sanders.
I think that Marshall Faulk really is the key offensively. But Kurt Warner, because he's had such a storybook year and he's done such a great job in setting all kinds of records as a passer, he'll probably be the league MVP, but it could just as easily be Marshall Faulk because he is the linchpin of this offense. He is a guy who can run as well as any runner, but he also is a phenomenal receiver. So he really is the guy that makes this offense click.
Rams call timeout with 6:05 remaining in the first quarter. Away from tying Sanders' record. 3rd and 6 for the Rams. Warner. And the pass is caught. Ricky Prohl signals first down. Nice catch by Prohl up at the 36, a gain of 12 yards.
I think sometimes people forget about how good Ricky Prohl is and what a dependable receiver he is. But you get to see it. I don't know if they're going to give him this catch. It looks like the officials are conferring there in the middle of the field. I just talked about how steady his hands are. Yeah, he caught that ball, and they should see that replay and challenge it if they want the first down. It may not matter.
5-5-5 on the game clock, please.
So the question is, will Dick Vermeil challenge the call on the field? It was ruled incomplete.
He's got until the ball is snapped the next time. And here you see pretty clearly, Kenny, that his hands are underneath that ball. We'll take another look at it from this angle. I thought that angle was pretty clear. You know, I think when they see it, and I think they'll challenge it, and the Rams will keep the ball. I said it may not matter to him. You know, Dick Vermeil wants to win this game, and they want to have 14 wins and keep the momentum going and take that into the playoffs.
The pass was ruled incomplete on the field. It's being challenged by St. Louis.
Dick Vermeil told us yesterday the number 1 goal today for his club, stay healthy, and number 2, win the game.
Take another look at it, Kenny. And again, this is pretty clear to me. Yeah, that's a catch. Now the replay, I think, has been pretty good all season, and I think it's worked pretty well. But I've seen them be wrong. I've seen it not work, and you know, it's had its troubles.
And what is in question on this play is when Prohl did the flip, if the ball came out and touched the ground, but I don't think it did many of the replays we've seen.
No, his hands were on that low end zone shot, the first one that we showed everyone. His hands are clearly, there it is right there. You see that? And the hands are clearly between the ball and the turf.
And it must be conclusive in Mike Carey's view in order to overturn the call on the field, which was an incompletion. If the call stands, the Rams will be forced to punt. If Mike Carey changes his mind after looking at the replay, the Rams drive will continue.
and going, back to the Rams. Again, it's a pass to Ricky Proehl. And you talk about the Rams offensively, and the reason why in the playoffs I think they're going to be so difficult to beat is that multiplicity of weapons. You cover Oz as Hakeem, or you cover Isaac Bruce, all of a sudden, bang, there goes Ricky Proehl or Roland Williams or Robert Holcomb. They've got the stars, and then they got a lot of solid players behind them.
The ruling on the field stands. The ball hit the ground. It's incomplete. Fourth down. St. Louis is charged with their second timeout.
Well, I said occasionally it's wrong, and I don't see how you could say that this ball hits the ground. I mean, you watch it at home, and you tell me that if that ball hits the turf, it's pretty clear that his hands are right underneath the ball.
But the call stands, and Tim, a bit of history. The 1,000th punt of Mike Horan's NFL career. He's the 10th punter to reach 1,000. Among the 10, the Eagles, Sean Landeta. Alan Rawson, penalty markers, as Rawson is forced out of bounds just shy of the 40-yard line. A 58-yard punt by Horan, and 12 yards on the return. Saving the ball from his 1,000th career punt. He's the oldest punter in league history at the age of 40. Spent his first 2 seasons here in Philadelphia with the Eagles. So Tim Houck saved the ball earlier from his first career interception, and now Horan saved the ball from the
back by number 42 of the receiving team. 10-yard penalty. They retain possession. First down.
Might not have any footballs left.
That's right. There's going to be potential for a lot of records to be broken here today.
Rashard Cook, number 42.
There's the block in the back. Right there. He tried to pull off, but he was already too close.
Eagles' third penalty of the first quarter. Donovan McNabb and the Eagles will start from their own 13-yard line. McNabb coming off the sprained MCL. His left knee took 60% of the snaps in practice this week. Coy Detmer, who started and won the New England game, took the other 40.
And Coy Detmer in that game really wasn't incredibly sharp. He only completed about 35% of his passes, but hey, 3 of them were for touchdowns.
3 big plays. McNabb on first down with the pump fake, and the pass is caught for a first down out of the 26-yard line by the rookie out of North Carolina, Dave Brown. Well, tonight, kick back and let Fox entertain you on the first Sunday of the millennium with King of the Hill and a special hour of The Simpsons, followed by a bizarre alien encounter on the X-Files. It's all coming tonight on Fox.
Kenny, if I were Nate Brown's mom or dad, I'd be pretty happy that he's here as a rookie with Donovan McNabb as the quarterback.
2 rookies who the Eagles hope will grow together over the next decade as Deuce Staley gains 3 yards.
Yeah, I think it's just a great opportunity because as Donovan McNabb develops and matures, if you can be there during that process, you can become a comfortable thing for him. You can become the guy that he looks for when he's in trouble, when he's scrambling, or when it's third down. You can burn this number 85 right into his brain.
Second and 7. McNabb looking for number 87 this time, the tight end Jed Weaver, another rookie, and a penalty marker.
Well, London Fletcher was balling it. I love London Fletcher as a player. I mean, I love his tenacity, and I said last week, he reminds me so much of my former teammate Jesse Tuggle. He's short, but he's powerful.
Number 59 of the defense.
Gets right there and grabs Ted Lewis right by the back of the jersey, and Jed Weaver, and then tries to pretend that he didn't.
McNabb calling for the penalty marker.
Yeah, and the official saw that. That was pretty clear. But I love the way Fletcher plays the game. He plays from sideline to sideline, and when he hits you with a great impact. He gathers, and he explodes up through you.
Fletcher, a second alternate for the Pro Bowl. Following the penalty, 1st and 10 from the 34. Eagles spread the field with four wide receivers, but they keep it on the ground with Deuce Staley, and he gains 1 yard. DeMarco Farr, along with Billy Jenkins, in on the tackle.
DeMarco Farr, you talk about this whole Rams defense, and DeMarco Farr and Ray Agnew. I think Ray Agnew has really played a fine season this year, and those two guys in there together have done a real good job. DeMarco Farr is the quick guy, and Agnew is the anchor, and then Peter Junta, of course, he and John Bunting, the co-defensive coordinators, get those guys lined up.
Bunting, the former Eagle linebacker. McNabb gets it away. Staley. Tiptoes out of bounds after a gain of 11. And right now for an NFL update, let's return to James Brown at the Fox Network Center.
Kenny and Tim, take a look. Charlie Batch to Herman Moore off his fingertips. Johnny Morton right there, just like they drew it up. Minnesota still with hopes for the Central title, all tied with Detroit at 7. Kenny and the world traveling Tim Green.
Thanks, hey JB. You know, Chris Carter had something there. You do one heck of a job, but I do disagree with him. I think you have a pretty nice gift to wrap up and hand to people. He does a great job doing it.
Certainly does.
Chris Carter on the pregame, of course, talking about the multi-talented James Brown.
How about the multi-talented Chris Carter? He did some television work over at NFL Europe for Fox the last couple of summers.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Carter's a smart guy and a well-respected guy and a well-spoken guy, and I would expect that when he finally decides to retire from the game, he'll take somebody's job in the broadcast booth, and hopefully it won't be mine.
Hopefully not. You had a pretty busy weekend. Cotton Bowl yesterday, Eagles Rams today, 2nd and 10, 3 wide receivers. Clock was down to 1. McNabb to the near side, and Brown able to hang on. 4-yard gain. Dexter McCleon forced him out. We saw the update. The Lions and the Vikings, both potential first-round playoff opponents. Rams, with home field throughout, will play the wild card with the worst record once the 2 wild card games are played next weekend. So the Rams cannot play a division winner in their first playoff game.
Right, and I think that's going to be should be a pretty easy first task for the Rams, because those other teams, you're going to have 2 8-8 teams in the playoffs.
3rd and 6. McNabb in trouble, taken down, and the Rams have tied their team record. That was one of their goals today. Charlie Clemens, along with DeMarco Farr, their 56th sack of the year.
Well, Kenny, Peter Junta told us he likes to do some special things. So this is a Tacoma, and he takes his 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive linemen, he lines them up as linebackers. That's their special play. See them there? That's DeMarco Farr and Grant Wistrom. So they line those guys up, stand them up, and they come with this special blitz. And that gives the guys something fun and something that they're eager to try out.
It's called the Tacoma because DeMarco Farr is from the state of Washington, and he shares the team record time sack with Charlie Clemens.
And the great thing is you do something innovative and it's fun, but it's 10 times better when you do it and it's fun and it works.
Ike Reese downfield to make the stop on special teams, a 47-yard punt and a 5-yard return. Well, 5 teams are in. The Rams, Buccaneers, Redskins, Vikings, and Lions have clinched playoff berths. These 4 teams going for 1 remaining spot.
That's right, and of course Dallas is the only one that only needs to do one thing. They control. If they beat the Giants, then they're in.
But But if the Giants win, they would also need a Green Bay Packers loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Marshall Faulk up to the 21-yard line, and he is now the NFL's all-time single-season record holder in total yards from scrimmage.
We saw Barry Sanders earlier in the package on him, and I think Barry Sanders was the most elusive runner over the last 20 years, or maybe in the history of football. The thing that Marshall Faulk has, I think he's up there as a runner, almost as elusive as Barry Sanders, but the thing that makes him so special is that receiving combination, his ability to catch the ball out in the field.
In fact, last week he went over 1,000 yards, Tim, in both rushing and receiving. Only Roger Craig had done that in league history. First down for the Rams. Greg Jefferson made the stop on Faulk. A gain of 8.
Yeah, that's a play that we're seeing more and more, and I think that Gary Crowton in Chicago really has made this play popular in the National Football League because the Bears do it so well, and then you see the Rams doing it. It's that wide receiver screen. The quarterback just pops the ball out to the perimeter, and then all of a sudden you see all these big linemen running out there to set up a wall and block for the wide receiver.
2,369 yards, and that is the end of the first quarter with the Rams leading the Eagles 7-3. Fox NFL Sunday continues after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Passes on the year. Marshall Faulk breaks the record, and the Rams reach 500 points.
Well, 2 records have gone down, and I guess 3 records, but still this play here has been a little bit lackluster.
Faulk extending his record inside the Eagles 15, a 57-yard run, and he is finally brought down by Brian Dawkins.
You know the amazing thing about this run is you're watching here, watch these guys, they don't know how to tackle Marshall Faulk. Watch the players, they don't know when he's going to move, when he's going to shift, and they're not quite sure when he's going to accelerate. And I think that's what makes him so special as a runner. You get to chasing him, and you don't quite know what angle to take on Marshall Faulk because he's so elusive in the field.
Over 100 yards combined in today's game already after one play in the second quarter. Warner fires it through the end zone. The intended receiver, Isaac Bruce.
That was pretty good coverage by Troy Vincent. You know, I think Troy Vincent was slighted. I think he should have been a Pro Bowl cornerback, and if he had played for a team that had won more games, I really believe that he would have gone to the Pro Bowl. He's had a fantastic season, probably the best season he's had as a professional.
He is the first alternate behind Deion Sanders and E.S. Williams, and the starter from the Rams, Todd Light. So if one of those 3 gets hurt, Deion said he might not go due to the pregnancy. His wife due right around then. Hakeem on the shovel pass inside the 3.
You know, on the pregame show, they talked about, Pam Oliver talked to Chris Carter about getting footballs and Randy Moss. And Carter said, you know, there's only one ball, and a lot of guys want to get it. And then here you see with the Rams, we haven't seen Azazir Hakeem get the ball in the offense yet today, and we haven't seen Isaac Bruce. We saw that last pass go to him. And that's one thing that is a good thing and is a bad thing. It's a good thing because you could go to so many different people. It's a bad thing because if you're one of these great players, you never get as many touches as you'd like.
First and goal, Robert Holcomb, the fullback, second year out of the University of Illinois, and he is stopped for no gain by the middle linebacker, Jeremiah Trotter.
Well, the Eagles have been in this situation, their defense, 2 times today. And, of course, the first time they were in the red zone, they came up with the interception. Tim Houck got his interception, and Barry Gardner had good coverage. There's Jim Johnson, the defensive coordinator. Again, today they wanted to go after Kurt Warner to try to pressure him and disrupt his rhythm. But it's almost an impossible thing to do.
Warner calling the Rams' second timeout. They also lost one due to the replay challenge, so Dick Vermeil is out of timeouts here in the first half.
Okay. parade, but do you know what a mummer is?
I would have to admit I do not. Second and goal. Falk. The second effort is close. No indication as of yet. Stopped just short. So what's a mummer?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I thought you knew.
No, I thought you would know. They say never ask a question unless you know the answer, but I do a lot of things I'm not supposed to do. I would imagine Dick Vermeil, having spent a lot of years in this, no, he wouldn't know what a mummer is. That's what I was going to say, as many years he spent, but I read this week that they had a celebration for the 200 years, and he told them to turn down the noise.
He said he didn't know who won the Heisman Trophy until last week. Falk, second touchdown today.
I mean, really, you don't mean to be lackluster about a touchdown, but the Rams' offense and how efficient they are and effective they are and how many different weapons they have, you kind of start to expect that, well, they're going to drive down and they're on the 3-inch line, and, well, of course they're going to put it in.
106 total yards, 2 touchdowns for Marshall Falk. Jeff Wilkins adds the point after, and the Rams lead over the Eagles is now 14-3. Lead 14-3. Allen Rawson back deep for the Eagles, awaiting Jeff Wilkins' kick. Takes it at the 3. Rawson, 70-yard return last time, this time 22. Next week on Fox, the postseason kicks off with the NFC Wild Card Playoffs. Be there as the last standing team for the NFC clash as the road to the NFC Championship begins. Coverage starts with the pregame show. Check local listings for the game and time next Sunday on Fox.
You know, really, next Sunday, it's a new season. I mean, everything is single elimination, so even though the Rams are the team to beat, everyone's going to want to watch to see who is going to arrive and who's going to peak at the right time and win at the right time and take themselves to the Super Bowl. No one last year thought the Atlanta Falcons were the ones that were going to go on. Everyone said it was the Vikings, so you have to watch them all and watch how each team peaks.
Deuce Staley with a 2-yard pickup on first down, setting up 2nd and 8. Yeah, last year the Vikings 15-1, the overwhelming choice in the NFC Championship game, but the Falcons came up with the victory in overtime over Minnesota. 2nd and 8 from the 28. McNabb to the far side, and Dave Brown picks up the first down. Todd Light wraps him up, and for another update, JB, take it away.
Kenny and Tim, take a look at Steve Berline as he drills this one to Wesley Walls for the score. You know Carolina needs to score as many points as necessary if it gets down to a best net points in conference games differential. Packers on top of the Cardinals 7-3. And Tim, Terry Bradshaw wants to know if you're using a cheat sheet to know the players today. I told him no. You know them by heart.
I know the whole roster, and I even know, JB, this playoff scenario. And this is what Carolina needs. They need to win. They need the Giants to win. They need the Packers to beat the Cardinals. All those things are starting to happen.
What a catch! Torrance Small! Fighting for the end zone. He's got it! 63 yards for the former St. Louis Rams.
That was a beautiful pass, a beautiful catch, and a beautiful run. separation of Torrance Small. The coverage was there. He just looked that ball all the way in. It was placed perfectly, and that's so impressive for Torrance Small just to refuse to be denied the end zone.
The longest pass play of McNabb's NFL career. Johnson, the extra point. Small coming up with his 4th touchdown, and it's a beauty. To Small.
It was a great throw by Donovan McNabb, and I still think he's being affected by that knee injury, but he threw that one with his upper body, and he threw it perfectly.
Tony Horn, 4 yards deep in the end zone, down to one knee. So the Rams will start from their own 20-yard line.
I don't know how much McNabb's knee is hurting him, but I think definitely at least having the brace on it is changing the way, it looks to me, it's just changing his throwing. Watch how he throws this. And he just kind of pulls back, but he's so strong up top. He's got such a powerful upper body. See, and he gives a little hitch there, but he's so strong up top that he still has the ability to throw that ball perfectly downfield.
From the 20-yard line, 2 tight ends set. Torrey Holt in motion. Warner nearly picked off by Barry Gardner.
That was what they needed. I mean, the Eagles they're making this a heck of a football game. They're in this thing 10-14, and that reminds me of their Arizona game several weeks ago, Kenny, 4 games ago, where 4 times the linebackers had balls dumped in their hands by Jake the Snake Plummer, just like this, and they dropped them.
And the linebackers spent extra time working on pass catching drills following that loss to the Cardinals. 2nd and 10. Warner with the completion at the 25-yard line. Ricky Cole, a gain of 5. William Thomas made the stop. It will be 3rd and 5.
Another thing about the Rams, you get the attention is on Kurt Warner and Isaac Bruce and Marshall Faulk, but look at the protection this offensive line gives Kurt Warner. I mean, look at that. That is a perfect pocket, and then they open up the throwing lane there. They open up a perfect throwing lane for Kurt Warner.
Under the tutelage of Jim Hannafin, the chief. Warner, and it popped away from the intended receiver, Isaac Bruce.
I'll tell you, the Rams they're letting the Eagles hang around in this one. I think the Rams' plan was to let their starters play the first half and then maybe start rolling guys in. But if they're going to want to win this game, they may have to let the starters play a little bit longer.
Allen Rawson, that deep. The Rams' second punt of the game. And a fair catch called for by Rawson. 50-yard punt by Moran. Get ready for Green Fest. 3 nights of TV's richest game show. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The only network television game show that can give away over $2 million. Green Fest, the 3-night event that starts Wednesday at 9, 8 Central on Fox.
Kenny, Kurt Warner is going to be making, Dick Vermeil told him, you're making millions of dollars right now, even though you're not making. But by the way, Kurt Warner is one of the guys that really cares less about money than any of the guys in the league. Very, very strong Christian faith, and he believes in that, and his wife, and they're very real people. And he's not a money guy. He's not a guy that's overly concerned with it. But because of the season he's had, he's going to have a monster contract somewhere in the future.
Donated much of his earnings from the Kurt Warner cereal to charity.
Well, all of it.
83, 5-yard, first down.
It's Camp Barnabas. It's a camp for kids with special needs in the St. Louis area, I believe. And their son attends that camp. And what they do, they bring kids with special needs in, and they bring them in with siblings so that the kids feel like they're home, they feel comfortable, and they all have a great time. And instead of taking the money for themselves, the Warners donated all of it, and that just speaks volumes.
First and 15 following the penalty. And McNabb tied up. Foot was stepped on, and he went down. Kevin Carter also
that's going to
on the play.
That's going to be a sack for Kevin Carter.
His 17th, which leads the NFL.
He's laughing at that. That was about as easy a sack for him as the shovel pass was for Kurt Warner, because McNabb gets his foot stepped on by Trey Thomas. Of course, Grant Wistrom's the guy that's causing Trey Thomas to step on the foot because he's putting such pressure on Trey Thomas today with his pass rush.
4 wide receivers set for the Eagles. Here comes Carter again. McNabb escapes, pump fakes, and then takes off. What a block thrown by Nate Brown.
Didn't look like there was too much wrong with his knee on that play, did it? That's what kind of you've come to expect from Donovan McNabb. You know, the first thing he does is he eludes the rush. Watch Kevin Carter. He blows right through here, and he eludes the rush in the pocket. And a lot of quarterbacks can elude the rush in the pocket. There's that block by Nate Brown. But McNabb takes it to the next level. You know, eluding it in the pocket, that's great. It's critical. It's important. But then Donovan McNabb, when he gets out into the open field, can really damage a defense.
By the way, that sack 2 plays ago by Carter set a new team record, 57 sacks. McNabb off balance is picked off by Dexter McCleon. It looked like McNabb threw off the wrong foot.
Yeah, it did. And again, I think McNabb is such a tremendous athlete, and he's out there with that brace on it. He gets his feet set quicker on the move. And I think that brace is not enabling him to get the feet set as quickly. And the Rams come with the blitz, and Clemens is there, and he throws that thing off of his back foot. Here's Clemens right here. Actually, that ball may have been tipped there. It looked like on that replay.
And then Dexter McCleon comes up with his 4th interception of the season.
Yeah, Kevin Carter may have tipped that football.
Second Eagles turnover. Rams from the Philadelphia 34. Robert Holcomb up the middle. William Thomas made the stop after a gain of 2 yards. Now, Andy Reid told us on Friday if McNabb's mobility were to be limited in the game today, or if there were a chance of injury, he would not hesitate to pull the plug and put Coy Detmer, Ty's brother, in the game.
Well, Detmer's had his helmet on most of the game. He just took it off there, but I've been watching him on the sideline, and he's anxious. He's a competitor. He wants to get in there. Oh, boy, Jeremiah Trotter, that was sweet.
You can hear it up here in the broadcast booth.
I think everybody heard that. And he has been one of the most pleasant surprises for Andy Reid. And I think that what's happened for Jeremiah Trotter this season is he's starting to get it. He's starting to see the whole field. He's starting to be able to react to what happens in front of him without really thinking, and then he brings it. You know, but he's always had the physical talents to bring it. But I think, and this happens with most young linebackers, there comes a point where they just see everything and they react instead of think.
3rd and 6. And Warner's pass was well behind Torrey Holt. Here comes the field goal unit.
Now, this is a timing play, and I think, Torrey Holt just didn't get off of the coverage. The coverage was on top of him, and Kurt Warner is used to Torrey Holt just beating that press coverage, just slipping past it and being wide open downfield. He looks pretty frustrated.
47-yard attempt by Wilkins, and he nails it. So Wilkins, the former Eagle, extends the Rams' lead. It is now 17-10, St. Louis. Leading the Eagles Eagles 17-10 in the regular season finale. Rams gearing up for their first playoff appearance in 10 years. Allen Rossum back deep for the Eagles. Rossum from the 7. Forced out of bounds at the 31-yard line by Tony Horn. 24-yard return by Rossum. Donovan McNabb and the Eagles back to work. We mentioned Coy Detmer is the number 2 quarterback today. Doug Peterson, who started 9 games earlier this season, who has a cracked rib suffered against Dallas last month. Peterson is on the active roster today. Normally you designate your 3rd quarterback, and they can only come into the 4th quarter without putting the other quarterbacks down. But Peterson is the holder. He has been the holder on the extra point and the field goal, and they kept all 3 quarterbacks active as McNabb makes the connection with the tight end, the former Ram, Chad Lewis, for a gain of 22.
Chad Lewis does a nice job. When you're a tight end, this area here is where you have to be able to dominate. It's called the seam. And you have to be able, as Lewis does here, to run up the seam and avoid the linebackers, and he does it perfectly. And you see linebackers and Billy Jenkins, the safety, all around it. You have to have a feel for that. It looks easy on the replay, but it happens so fast, you just have to feel it.
The pitch to Staley, and he's upended after a short gain down to the Rams 47.
Kenny, we talked about the Rams being able to bring 8 guys up and keep the run, and then the other thing that they've been able to do is really put a lot of pressure on Donovan McNabb. And that's what, again, if you want to win the game and the quarterback's got a brace on his knee, that's what you do. You come after him and you put a lot of heat on him. And John Bunting there and the Peter Junta, the other coordinator, that's what they've done. They're not going to take it easy on Donovan McNabb.
4 wide receivers set on 2nd and 10. Quick drop. And McNabb's pass incomplete, intended for Torrance Small. Dexter McLeon climbing up his back.
And then, that's right. And McLeon was up his back, and then Mike Jones was on Donovan McNabb. McNabb sees the pressure in front of him. There's Ray Agnew coming, and Jones came from his back.
McNabb today, 8 of 13, 132 yards, including the 63-yard touchdown pass to Torrance Small. 3rd and 10. 3 wide receivers set. McNabb to the near side, looking for Dave Brown. Incomplete. And the Eagles will be forced to punt it away.
The thing that the Eagles have to do, and everyone knows about it here, they've got to get Donovan McNabb a big-time wide receiver, big-time downfield threat for their passing game. And when they do, this young team, I think, is going to be pretty good.
And they will have a high pick in the April draft. Fair catch by Hakeem, 32-yard punt by Landeta.
Kenny, everyone talks about Kurt Warner gets hurt, and the rest is history. He's had a monumental year for the Rams, and it's just been a real odyssey for this young man.
Robert Holcomb, you mentioned the 3 other quarterbacks in Green Bay, Brett Favre, Mark Brunell, and Ty Detmer. And Steve Mariucci was the quarterback coach. The offensive line coach at the time was Andy Reid.
Well, you can see with Detmer and Brunell and Favre in front of you why you'd be relegated to the 4th quarterback, and you'd never really get a shot. And I don't think Kurt Warner would have had the shot this season but for Trent Green's injury. I mean, that's obvious. Dick Vermeil really enamored with Trent Green, and Trent Green is a heck of a quarterback too.
Green suffered the season-ending injury in the preseason against San Diego as Holcomb gains a yard, stopped by Hollis Thomas. And this was the scene, Rams-Chargers preseason, as as Brent Green is taken down, suffered the season-ending injury. Rodney Harrison with the hit. And that opened the door for Warner.
I think a lot of times people don't realize how much of a great NFL career is being at the right place at just the right time. And I think any player who's been there and who's had success or who's had failure will tell you that the luck has something to do with it.
3rd and 6 through the hands of Oz Hakeem.
You can see a little bit of the lackluster in the Rams. And, you know, Kurt Warner is not lackluster. This ball is thrown perfectly, and it's perfectly placed, but Oz Hakeem just doesn't have the concentration. So he appears right now to be a casualty of the fact that everything is locked up for them. It's locked away, and this game, in a lot of ways, doesn't mean anything to the Rams as a team.
You know, another point, Tim, on Warner, he was left exposed for the expansion draft. The Cleveland Browns very well could have selected Kurt Warner.
Well, the other thing,
Rossum had it deflect away, and then he fell on it.
I don't want to disparage any great player like, you know, Marshall Faulk or Kurt Warner or Kevin Carter. I mean, the other part about being in the right place at the right time, then you have to have the talent. And those guys all have the talent.
Kurt Warner and the Rams heading into the playoffs. They will have a bye next week. We told you about the NFC, the 4 teams battling for one spot. Over in the AFC, 4 teams have clinched. Seattle, Kansas City, and Miami. 2 of those 3 will make it.
Right, and Seattle, if they win, then they're in, and Kansas City, if they win, then they're in. And Miami, on the other hand, they need to win, and then they need either the Chiefs or the Seahawks to lose. So Seattle and Kansas City, you know, this is a playoff weekend for them.
And remember, if Tennessee wins and Jacksonville loses, the Titans would clinch first place in the Central. McNabb down the sidelines looking for Damian Douglas. Ray Bly, the rookie out of North Carolina, got a piece of it.
Well, McNabb's just going for it because he throws this right into the coverage and trusts that Damian Douglas is going to go up and beat Ray Bly, because Bly has perfect coverage. He's got great position, and he turns and plays the ball just right. He just doesn't make the catch.
Second and 10 from the 40-yard line. McNabb over the middle. Incomplete. Looking for the tight end, Luther Broughton.
On that play there, Donovan McNabb had plenty of time and not too much pressure in his face, but he just throws this ball behind the tight end.
Eagles 0 for 6 today on 3rd down attempts. 3rd and 10 from the 40. Play clock winding down. McNabb's pass pops away from the tight end, Chad Lewis. Mike Jones again on the coverage.
I'll tell you, the Eagles' offensive line on that play did a real nice job. They really did a good job because the Rams defenders are out. They want sacks, and they're out there. You know it's 3rd and 10. You know you're going to go after the quarterback. But watch what a good job these guys do. You know, there's Brzezinski. He's on Ray Agnew. Dellenbach had Kevin Carter on the stunt. They did a nice job.
Hakeem caught the punt, running towards the goal line over his shoulder, 53 yards by Landeta.
Well, I still say that the way to beat the Rams is you've got to come up with turnovers. You've got to come up with big plays in the turnover category, and the Eagles have one, but the Rams
During
have
the
two.
return, illegal block in the back by number 59 of the receiving team. Half of distance to the goal. They retain possession.
Andy Reid's guys have done a good job, really, Kenny, to be with this caliber team, the caliber of the Rams team, to be in this thing at this point in time and only down by a touchdown. But again, I really think that they're going to have to come up with more turnovers if they're going to have a chance to win it.
Rams start from their own 3-yard line, deep in their own territory. With 2.5 to go, second quarter, Rams leading the Eagles by 7. Warner from the end zone to the backup fullback James Hodgins, the rookie out of San Jose State. Troy Vincent made the stop after a gain of 3.
Hey, you feel the crowd getting a little excited. You can see the Eagles defense getting a little excited because this is where you want to try to pin them down. The Eagles calling timeout now to stop the clock because if they can pin the Rams down, get 3 and out, they're going to have a chance to score before they go into halftime. You said it at the beginning that Andy Reid has told his team, we want this to be the beginning of a new year. And can you imagine, starting out the year with a young quarterback and a young team and being able to beat a team of the caliber that the Rams are?
Reid told the team during the week, give everything you have in today's game. You'll have plenty of time to relax during the offseason.
Well, they had such a good taste in their mouths after they went up to New England. They beat New England, and then they had the bye week, so they had 2 weeks to really enjoy the fact that they had won and they had played well, and it's fun in the locker room, and you're laughing, and all of a sudden, the trainers are smiling at you instead of scowling at you, and the coach thinks you're a heck of a guy instead of wondering why, you missed this, you were late to this meeting, or you didn't get an extra rep on the bench press. Everything turns good when you win, and when you win the last game, that flavor carries through to the next season.
2nd and 7. Warner off the play fake is picked off. Did he stay in bounds? No. Brian Dawkins heading to the Pro Bowl with 4 interceptions, close to making it 5.
Well, this was a cover 2 play where the cornerback stayed underneath and the safety, Dawkins, comes over the top. And I don't know if Holt, there you see that he was clearly out of bounds when he caught it, but Holt slipped on that play. Holt was supposed to break to the out and make that out cut, but Brian Dawkins had great position. Of course, he is a Pro Bowl player, or will be a Pro Bowl player, voted the Pro Bowl, and that's a big accomplishment from a losing team.
Play clock winding down. Warner just gets the snap away, and Holcomb is stopped 4 yards shy of the first down marker. Hollis Thomas, nice effort by the Eagles defense.
Yeah, now their offense is going to have some pretty good field position, or should have, and a chance to go in and score and maybe take this thing to halftime with a tie.
Eagles stop the clock with another timeout. They have 1 remaining. Horan will be punting out of his own end zone. Defensive coordinator Jim Johnson.
And normally, Kenny, by this time in the game, the Rams are, they're way out in front of you, and they're laughing and joking over on the sideline and trying to figure out where they're going to go out tonight.
Andy Reid with ties to the state of Missouri, the former offensive line coach at the University of Missouri, and Dick Vermeil, of course, returning here today to the stadium where he coached from 1976 through 1982. Brought the Eagles to the Super Bowl following the 1980 season. Horan from the end zone. Bounces to Rossum. Rossum across the 25, down to the 22. 33-yard punt, 22 yards on the return, and Rossum was finally brought down by Rich Cody.
The great thing that Allen Rossum does is he fields this thing after the bounce. And it's a bad punt. Watch this here. Now here's where he has a chance to field it and catch it on the run with forward momentum and then just accelerate up through the punt coverage team. But the key is you've got to accelerate into that bounce.
And the Eagles will be able to get 1 play away. They called the 2 timeouts. 1 play prior to the 2-minute warning. Following the big return by Rossum. Eagles from the Rams 23. McNabb's last 5 pass attempts have gone incomplete. High formation, Staley inside the 20-yard line, and that takes us down to the 2-minute warning. Eagles on the move, trying to tie the score. 2nd and 7 for the Eagles from the Rams 20-yard line. McNabb with time. Torrance Small. Close to the first down marker. Eagles with 1 timeout left. Clock continues to run down to 1:40. And the Eagles did pick up the first down. Good second effort by Small.
Yeah, Torrance Small's been really impressive today. I mean, he has 3 catches for 74 yards. One of them, that touchdown that he really got because of a great second effort. I think that always happens when you play against your old team. You really want to show them off.
Mike Carey stops the clock. And the Eagles, or the Rams, I should say, have challenged the spot.
No, it's an official replay because it's inside the 2 minutes, so no one had to challenge it. It's just being reviewed by the officials up in the booth.
They will take a look just to make sure that the spot was correct. No harm in checking.
Well, I wonder if they're going to look at what happened to the ball. I saw the ball pop out of there, but I imagine, as you said, they're looking to see if, in fact, he did get the first down. That angle won't show up, but it certainly shows the effort that Torrance Small is putting into this run.
Louis Bizarro and Bill Reynolds, the replay officials.
Here's the first down marker right there.
Gee, we need one of those yellow lines that Pat Summerall and John Madden have.
Maybe one day, my partner. Maybe one day.
So the officials up in the replay booth taking another look.
You know, they have to use the replays that we have, and I don't know if we've got a replay that gives them a clear indication of where that ball was.
In which case the call of the field would stand.
Right.
Otherwise it would be 3rd and inches if they reverse the spot.
I still think earlier that they made a mistake on the Ricky Prohl catch. They said it wasn't a catch, and I'm pretty sure it was.
Field was a first down. After reviewing the play, the ball was short of the line of game when they elbow the runners down. 3rd down and short.
Well, the fans not happy about the call. They will change the down marker from first down back to 3rd. So it will be 3rd and inches with 1:14 remaining. First half, Eagles trailing the Rams by 7. Third and inches.
Down was it wasn't, it can be solved. And will one day, I'll tell you, you heard it here first, they'll have electronic tape on the balls, and they'll know by lasers, they'll know whether the ball went 10 yards or it didn't.
They only need a couple of inches right here. Staley gets it. Inside the 5 to the 3. 11 yards for Staley. Lorenzo Styles finally brought him down.
A really nice run by by Deuce Staley, but I like the call by Andy Reid because whenever it's short yardage, the focus of the defense is on the inside. They run this play off tackle. And when you run it to the outside, then you have a chance not only to pick up the first down, but you have the opportunity to come up with a pretty big play. And this is a pretty big play. A nice blocking right there. And a nice run. Cecil Martin, the fullback, that was his block that really opened that off-tackle play up. And he's a rookie. So you talk about how young this team is, and Andy Reid made a conscious effort to say, look, I've got some guys, and this is my first year as a coach, and I want to build my team around these guys and play for the future. Steve Everett, the center there, who's had a really good year. He was a free agent from Baltimore and considered by a lot of people to be a top center in the league. They paid him a lot of money. He didn't have great seasons the last 2 years with the Eagles, but I think mostly that was because he was injured, and he's the kind of guy that, he's one of these tough, different kind of guys with long hair and the whole 9 yards, but I think he's the kind of guy that when he's hurt, he doesn't really talk about it or complain about it. He's been healthy this year, and he's been real good.
First and goal from the 3. McNabb into the end zone, but the pass was short. Intended for the tight end, Jed Weaver.
And that Donovan's saying that's mine, because Weaver was wide open, and McNabb was the guy that got him wide open by scrambling, and here you see him throwing on the run there. And Weaver catches it on the bounce.
The Rams have led at halftime of all but one game this year, the loss to the Tennessee Titans.
You have to remember this, too. The Rams have taken Marshall Faulk out of the game, so they're playing with one hand tied behind their back right now.
Second and goal. Off the play fake, shovel pass Staley. And Deuce Staley is in for the touchdown. Taking one out of the Rams playbook. The shovel pass for the score.
Right back at you.
Donovan McNabb's second touchdown throw of the game.
That's what you do when you have an aggressive end like Kevin Carter, who's going to come upfield and he's hungry for the quarterback. You do that shovel pass right inside of him.
Norm Johnson for the extra point. Or snap. And the Eagles have tied the score at 17.
Watch Kevin Carter come upfield and he smells the quarterback and he just keeps coming. And then nice block right there. Looked like Doug Brzezinski, one of my favorite guys on the Eagles team. Another free spirit. I can imagine you got Steve Everett and Doug Brzezinski right beside each other. That's a different lineup. Well, watch the block here by Brzezinski. See that on Fletcher, the linebacker? And watch Steve Everett there. Everett was the guy who was cleaning off the tackler. There was a tackler on Deuce Staley after he scored the touchdown, and Everett came and kind of cleaned off his back for him.
The Eagles hanging tough in their final game of the regular season. They have tied the score at 17. Tony Horn back deep for the Rams, the leading kick return man in the NFL this year, averaging 31 yards per return. Akers kickoff, taken by Horn, 2 yards deep. He brings it out. Cuts to the far side. Forced out of bounds after a return of 37 yards by Jason Bostic, just off the practice squad for the Eagles. Coming up once again on the Visa Halftime Report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris with scores and highlights and the Fox Sports ticker. That's all coming up on the Visa Halftime Report. No timeouts remaining for either club. 25 seconds to go.
Thinking about the pregame show, did you think that Jim Cantore, the weatherman, was actually making a pass at Howie?
I missed that segment today, but I have enjoyed Jim's segments throughout the season.
I'll bet you there's been some guys who have made passes at Howie.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not doing it right now, but I bet you there's been some guys.
I liked Howie's line last week when Jim Cantore brought back some replays of himself and storms.
Oh, yeah.
Howie said, why does Jim have to ask the cameraman if it was lightning?
That's right. No,
Jim's the meteorologist.
But the thing that brought those back was the week before. Howie said, hey, you're the weatherman. Every time we see you, you're
good weather.
Yeah, it's nice weather.
Terrific weather here in Philadelphia as time winds down, and that does it for the first half. An unusual position for the Rams. For only the second time this season, they are not winning as they head to the locker room at halftime. Tied at 17, the Visa Halftime Report is next after this message and a word from your local Fox station. The second half kickoff from David Akers. Rams and the Eagles tied at 17. Horn from the 2-yard line. Horn across the 25 to the 29. 27-yard return. And Kurt Warner will remain in the game, at least for the time being, at quarterback for the Rams, who were actually outgained in terms of total yardage thanks to the big pass play from McNabb to Torrance Small.
That's right. That accounted for most of this. And then, of course, Marshall Faulk accounted for most of those rush yardage, which the Rams compiled in that first half. And Marshall Faulk, as we've said, is now out of the game. That's like the Rams playing, as I said, with one hand tied behind their back.
James Hodgins leading the way for Justin Watson. His first carry, the rookie out of San Diego State. Tim Houck comes up to make the stop. Kurt Warner still in the game, we mentioned briefly just a moment ago. Faulk still has his helmet on, has all but 38 of the Rams' yards today. And Paul Justin, I'm sorry, Tim, the backup quarterback, suffered a neck injury on Thursday. Normally we would have seen Justin right around this time. And there is Joe Germain, the rookie out of Ohio State, who will back up Warner, who did not take any snaps with the Rams offense all year until Friday. Warner on second down, knocked down by the free safety Brian Dawkins.
I think that, Kurt Warner's there behind his coach, and he wants, Marshall Faulk, he wants to come in the game. I think probably what happened is the Rams went in at halftime at a tie, and I think they probably realized that this Eagles team wants this game. They want to win. These guys want to win it too, and that's why I think Marshall Faulk has his helmet on. He wants to be out there and say, all right, let's take the hand out from behind our back and give these guys the 1-2.
Can't find anyone downfield. And able to pick up the first down. Catch made by Ricky Pohl. No question about this one. And he gains 11. Of course, on the other hand, Tim, injuries. Dick Vermeil, number one concern, stay healthy. If he were to put Faulk back into the game and Faulk got hurt, Vermeil would never hear the end of it.
And again, and Chris Collinsworth said it on the pregame show, as a player, for every player in the NFL, Veterans Stadium means something special, and it means that it's the worst playing surface in the National Football League. It's the most dangerous. There are seams all over the place. Look at that. I mean, there's stuff all over the place from baseball, and it's an abominable place to have to play a football game in the National Football League.
Penalty is against the Rams.
Offense, number 88, 5 yards, remains first down.
I mean, look at that. Look at that stuff. And then, you see all these seams here. Those things catch your foot. You trip on them. It's a hard surface. It's the worst place to play in the league.
And who would know that better than Dick Vermeil, who coached the Eagles for 7 seasons back in the late 70s, early 80s. Turn here Wickham up the middle, gains 3. Dick Vermeil with 60 tickets for today's game for friends and family. The Rams last year 0-8 in the division, this year perfect.
And Vermeil, really an icon in this town. His billboards are still to be seen, and not just because of the great success he's had this year. Even when the Rams were struggling over the last 2 years, you could still see Dick Vermeil's face around the highways of Philadelphia.
Wasn't that good? That looked like Mamula had a magnet in his fist. You won't see that many times.
41 yards on the return. Mamula's first interception of the season. His second career touchdown. And the Eagles, who trailed 17-10, now lead 24-17.
That was just incredible. That was great. That's going to make a highlight reel. Mamula reaches up to bat the pass, hooks it with his left hand, and pulls it in. Watch this. Look at that. That's spectacular. As you said, Grant Wistrom, defensive end for St. Louis last week against the Bears, had a beautiful interception. But Wistrom used 2 hands. Mamula only uses 1.
His first career interception. It's his second touchdown. He returned a fumble for a score back in '96. This is why you want to get Kurt Warner out of the game.
Look at the smile on his face. Hey, that's great. I think Kurt Warner's frustrated. As I said, I think the Rams go into halftime in the locker room and say, you know, we're tied now, and these guys are here to play, and they're here to win, and these guys want to win. I mean, the Rams want to win this game. They don't want to lose their last regular season game to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Tony Horn on the return. Horn out of bounds at the 33. Forced out by Jason Bostic. 29-yard return by Horn. So the Rams find themselves in the very unusual position of trailing. They've lost only 2 games this year and are behind by a touchdown. The 41-yard interception return for a touchdown by Mike Mamula. Warner comes back on his next play, and it's Torrey Holt, who gains 25 yards down to the Eagles' 41.
Yeah, Holt, I think, when you watch him on film, he looks so similar to Isaac Bruce. By the way he breaks, he comes out of his break, he separates himself from the coverage, he makes great catches downfield. And there's Kurt Warner again. You see what a nice ball he throws. And I think Kurt Warner is a little frustrated. He's had not great numbers today. I think he wants to get this thing lit up.
Warner throws it away. He was under extreme pressure from Greg Jefferson, the left defensive end.
I will tell you this, he's allowed to...
Quarterback was out of the pocket.
Yeah.
25 was in the area.
Well, you know, I don't understand why officials, and I've heard this before, they say the guy's in the area, he has to have a reasonable opportunity to catch the ball. And I've heard this before, and it says in the rule book specifically that he has to have a realistic chance of catching it. Just being in the area isn't enough.
But as Mike Carey did mention Warner was out of the pocket.
But the other thing about being out of the pocket is the ball has to be thrown at or near the line of scrimmage, and that's another thing. You can throw it away when you're out of the pocket, but you got to be at or near the line of scrimmage with the pass.
Empty backfield, 5 wide receivers set. Warner to Kroll, who makes the sliding catch at the Eagles 11. And right now for an NFL update, let's return to James Brown at the Fox Network Center.
And Kenny and Tim, what we'll see is how badly Green Bay once in the playoffs. Second touchdown run of the day for Dorsey Levens, 21-3 Green Bay. And Tim, Terry wasn't doubting your ability to remember names. He was talking about how hard you've been working in terms of that cheat sheet.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, not hard enough though, JB, to get a Terry Award, not yet. But hey, the Packers, the other thing that you mentioned, JB, is the score. They need to have one more net conference point than Carolina. As we saw at the halftime, Carolina was winning 24-0. So the Packers had an 18-point advantage in that point differential, and they need to maintain that. So with 18, and if let's say the Carolina game ended 24-0, right? And you see Isaac Bruce, he's out of the game now too. So now they're almost the Rams playing with 2 hands tied behind their back. But with 18 points, if Carolina wins by 24, then the Packers have to win by more than 6 to keep that edge. And the Giants have to beat Dallas.
You attended math class as well as history class. Warner taken down by former Ram Tyrone Williams, and like Warner, a former NFL Europe player, he led the league with 9 sacks last year playing for the Rhine Fire.
Well, this is the last thing, and this is just a bad pickup. This is a bad pickup because, look, he's absolutely turned loose, and he hits Kurt Warner in the blind side. You talk about injury, that's how it can occur. You see that? Now, either they slid the line the wrong way, or someone was supposed to have blitz pickup who didn't. That's a mental mistake by the Rams.
3rd and 13. Warner to the end zone. Touchdown, Torrey Holt. The 41st touchdown pass of the season for Kurt Warner, who on that earlier reception by Kroll just before we threw it to JB, Warner set a new team record for passing yards in one season, so the Rams records continue to fall.
Well, it was a great throw by Warner, and the timing between Warner and Holt was really pretty to watch.
And Tim, here's another one. Jeff Wilkins has just tied the NFC record for most extra points in a season, 63, which ties the Redskins' Mark Mosley. Rams series. Rams have tied the score at 24 as Rossum awaits the kickoff.
Kurt Warner made that touchdown drive look easy, didn't he? It was almost like, okay, you're going to score on me, I'm going to score on you, even without my 2 best offensive weapons in the game. Isaac Bruce, Marshall Faulk both out, so Warner says, all right, I'll use Ricky Prohl and Torrey Holt, and I'm just going to work down the field and score a touchdown pass on you.
Penalty marker.
During the return, illegal block in the back by the receiving team, number 42. 10 yards, they retain possession, 1st down.
So Kurt Warner has set a new club record for passing yards in a season. He also threw 2 more touchdowns. Now 41.
I just think that's how good the Rams are. You could see Warner was frustrated, and he had the pick, and I think he just said, hey, all right, that's it. We're going to go score.
And this will be the Eagles' first offensive play of the second half. Rams took the opening kickoff. Warner was picked off by Mamola. Rams got the ball back, and they scored. Deuce Staley up to the 12-yard line, a gain of 1. 6 minutes in, 3rd quarter. Faulk's helmet is now off.
Yeah, and there's the scoring drive. You see Kurt Warner was 4 for 5, 75 yards, and I said before that drive, he wasn't having his best day numbers-wise, but it's like, all right, he just turned it on.
The numbers on Warner, and if he does not come back to him, this will be his first game under 55% this season. He's right at 50. Fletcher made the tackle after a gain of 7. The NFC playoffs come to Fox next Sunday, one of the 2 NFC wildcard games, and we will have it for you on Fox next Sunday. Coverage begins with the pregame show. Check local listings for the game and time.
And it's, again, I've said it before, it's a new season, folks. It all starts from scratch, single elimination. You got to see what team is on a roll. Even if you think like I do that St. Louis is the team to beat, you got to see what the competition's got going on.
3rd and 4, McNabb hits a wide open Small for a first down at the 31-yard line, a gain of 13, and for Torrance Small, his 5th reception of the game.
I think this is a good game for Donovan McNabb to get back into. You know, he really had something started. He had a good thing going as he played in the latter part of this season. He really started to develop comfort. He really started to develop confidence. And I think the team around him is getting more and more confident in him.
3 wide receivers set. McNabb on first down. Airing it out.
Yeah,
penalty marker.
Dre Bly had a hold of him.
Dietrich Gels, the intended receiver.
Well, Gels is a real speed guy. And I think Bly felt like Gels was starting to separate, and he just got a little grab on him.
Illegal contact. Defense number 32. 5 yards. Automatic. First down.
Legal contact different than pass interference, Kenny, in that it's a 5-yard penalty, and that occurs when you hit the guy frontally but outside of that 5-yard zone, and there it is right there, and that's what he tries to stop Gels' acceleration with that chuck. And even if it was in the 5-yard, you're not allowed to chuck twice within the 5-yard, so he was going to get it either way.
First down from the 31. Play action, and McNabb just overthrows Small. Dexter McLeod had the coverage.
Well, McNabb did everything right until the throw, and he just put a little too much on it, and he knows it. And he did a nice job reading the blitz. They came with both linebackers up the middle. His offensive line gave him just enough time. He waited for his receiver to clear the underneath coverage and hit that seam between the safety and the cornerback. He delivered it just a little long.
3 wide receivers. A. Brown in motion. 2nd and 10. Deuce Staley. 1 yard up to the 37-yard line. So it will be 3rd and long. 3rd and 9 for the Eagles.
So far, the Rams' defense goal of not giving up 100 yards to any rushers is pretty well in hand. Staley with just 30 yards on the day.
John Bunting, the former Eagle linebacker, co-defensive coordinator. And Peter Junta, who told us yesterday the Rams defense looked at extra film clips of Staley during the week in order to try and keep him below 100 yards. 4 wideouts on 3rd and 8. The pass is caught by Small. Tried to spin away from Devin Bush, but he was stopped about 2.5 yards shy of the first down marker.
Well, Torrance Small has had such a good day running after the catch that I think that's why they went to that. You say, well, how come you throw it to the guy short of the sticks? You can do it if he's shown an ability, and Torrance Small's shown it all day to catch it and then make something happen.
Mandela punting from his own 35, and it's a good one. Oz Hakeem watches it bounce, and it takes an Eagles bounce. It stays out of the end zone, and it is down at the 3-yard line by Eric Bieniemy. 52-yard punt, pinning the Rams deep in their own territory. Just a moment, Joe Germain is now in at quarterback. He has not thrown a pass yet this year. He has played in 2 games in garbage time. Germain, the rookie out of Ohio State, 4th round draft pick.
I asked him, what happened? Did you call home and let him know? He said, well, I didn't call. When I call home every night, and I let him know that I might play because I didn't know for sure. And I said, well, who was more excited, your mom or your dad? And he said, I don't know. And Rick Smith, the PR guy for the Rams, said, oh, his mom. I said, yeah, my mom. Usually moms are a little more excited about it.
Robert Holcomb takes the handoff from Jermaine, picks up the first down all the way out to the 21-yard line. A gain of 16.
I would imagine that Joe Germain feels a little bit like a 16-year-old who just got his license and his dad hands him the keys to the Porsche.
Is it a Porsche without Marshall Faulk and Isaac Bruce?
Yeah, it is. It's stripped down. I mean, you don't have all the, you don't have the sunroof and the
CD player.
Yeah, you don't get all the extras, but it's still a Porsche.
A Porsche Light. Jermaine's first NFL pass is caught for a first down by Mr. Reliable, Ricky Prohl. Jermaine hit on 47% of his pass attempts in the preseason.
I think Ricky Prohl gets hurt on this play. Nice throw. Prohl makes it easy for him, gets himself wide open.
Hangs on to the football.
Somebody was offering Prohl an ammonia stick. I think he may have gotten a little woozy on that.
Did Jermaine draw the Eagles? Mike Carey will tell us who jumped as Holcomb gains 9 yards.
See, there's Prohl has got the ammonia stick there. He took himself off. I saw him wave for his backup to come in. I would think they would decline this after the nice run by Robert Holcomb.
Offside defense. Number 95.
Tyrone Williams. And there's Ricky Prohl on the Rams sidelines. Ricky, a southern New Jersey native, grew up not far from Philadelphia.
Play results in the second down.
Shampoo.
Yeah, I don't, Prohl like Prell shampoo, I imagine, but
could be.
It's the only thing I could think of. Maybe that's what they used to call him in high school, and some of his homeboys are just back with a sign to remind him of where he came from.
Sign directly behind the Rams bench. 2nd and 1. Justin Watson has the first down as we send it back to James Brown in Los Angeles.
And Kenny and Tim, what we'll take a look at are the Chiefs right now ahead of the Raiders. Chiefs victory along with the Seattle loss, and the Chiefs will be kings of the West. And right now the Seahawks are losing to the Jets 16-9. And Terry says he will start in all literary categories next year, and you are the guy next year.
Well, Tom, first he's got to read one of those books.
One of the 7.
Yeah, well, he's got to read one, and then he can give it an award, and then I'll be thrilled.
I'll be looking for you next year on the Terry Awards. Off the play fake, Jermaine looking downfield, chased by the combination of Mike Mamula and Steve Martin, and he takes it out of bounds after a gain of 2.
Oh, with Kansas City on top, that's clears this thing up a little bit. If they win it, then Seattle is going to have to beat the Jets, and of course they're ahead of the Jets right now. Or Dolphins are going to have to lose, and then this thing we had wrong before. We said Kansas City has to win, and the Dolphins have to lose for Kansas City to go in. We said or the Dolphins have to lose, and that was, we want to make a retraction and a correction. They have to have 2 things happen, so Kansas City needs help.
So 3 teams in the AFC going for the 2 playoff spots as Jermaine's pass deflects off the shoulder of Robert Holcomb. Under 2 minutes remaining, 3rd quarter. Rams and the Eagles tied at 24. Kurt Warner finishes with the 5th highest quarterback rating. There's a convoluted formula which goes into the quarterback rating. The folks at the Elias Sports Bureau can tell you about that. But he finishes with the 5th highest quarterback rating in league history. Steve Young is on top of the list. 3rd and 8 from the 47. The pitch back to Justin Watson. Penalty markers as Watson is met first by Jeremiah Trotter, and then Troy Vincent, a loss of 4 on the play.
I think that's going to be a
Outside defense, the left end. 5 yards, 3rd down.
Sixth penalty committed by Andy Reid's Eagles. And it gives the Rams 3rd and 3 on the Eagles' 48. Rams best in the league this season on 3rd down. 4 wide receivers, Kroll in motion. Jermaine to rookie Kroll for another Rams first down. He was wrapped up by Allen Rossum. Needed 3, he gained 5.
Well, this is part of Mike Martz's offense. I think you have to give credit to Mike Martz and the offense that he brought with him from the Redskins. He really learned it from Norv Turner. And what they do, watch Ricky Kroll. He's going to motion, and then he's going to trail Hakeem. So Hakeem's going to clear the coverage, and then Ricky Kroll just turns up short, and Joe Germain delivers it on a timing pass, and they pick up the first down. That's a precision offense that Mike Martz designed.
From the 44, play fake, and then Jermaine goes back across the field. Ernie Conwell, his first catch of the year, has another Rams first down.
I think they just wanted to get Ernie Conwell to catch it. We saw him drop what would have been a touchdown pass earlier. So they set this up. This is a screen to the tight end. So Jermaine rolls right, he throws it back, and then this is where I think Ernie Conwell really is a weapon. When he gets that ball going downfield, he's a big, strong man.
Injured October of '98, reconstructive knee surgery. Played briefly in 2 other games this year.
Well, he was always a big guy in the weight room and very, very used to training hard. And I think when you're big in the weight room, it makes it easier to come back from a major surgery because it's the same type of work. To rehabilitate a knee, to rehabilitate almost any injury, just requires hours and hours of thankless, tedious, hard work.
And as you mentioned earlier, Vermeil expecting big things from Conwell in the playoffs. 10th play of the drive for the Rams. Final seconds of the 3rd quarter. And Tremaine did not find anyone downfield. He is taken down by the combination of Tyrone Williams and Greg Jefferson. And the clock stops with 8 seconds remaining. Now rolling, and that will do it for the 3rd quarter from the vet in Philadelphia. The Rams 24, the Eagles 24. Fox NFL Sunday continues after these words from your local Fox station.
The Eagles have really come to play, and as you said, they want to end this season and start this new year with a win. And then the other thing is the Rams have taken their superstars out of the game. First Marshall Faulk, and then Isaac Bruce, now Kurt Warner. Now, Joe Germain's doing he's 4 out of 5 right now. Isaac Bruce looking pretty relaxed over there on the sideline.
Bruce did not make a catch in today's game. Kurt Warner, 12 of 24, 2 touchdowns. Joe Germain, Tim, the biggest victory of his collegiate career, the 1997 Rose Bowl. He was the MVP.
And he beat Jake Plummer, who was the quarterback at Arizona State at the time. So he knows about big games and big programs.
Third down and 2. Holcomb lost the football. It's recovered by the Eagles. Barry Gardner.
Barry Gardner couldn't hold on to that interception earlier, but he sure scooped that thing up.
The third Rams turnover of today's game. Tim Houck with the big hit, knocking it free. 46.
Tim Houck, what did you say they call him, Kenny Albert?
The missile.
The missile.
And the Eagles with 42 takeaways. More than doubling their total from last season when they were last in the NFL. McNabb, play action, looking deep for Dave Brown. And a flag, kicks to McCleon, can't believe it.
Good call. McCleon had a hold of him. I don't know if Dave Brown could have caught that ball, though. Well, we'll never know. No doubt McCleon had a hold of Nate Brown.
Pass interference. Defense number 21. Automatic. First down.
Here's McCleon right here. Watch him just reach out there and he grabbed it. I don't know if Brown could have caught it, but it certainly was pass interference.
Setting up 1st and 10 on the Rams 18. Empty backfield. McNabb off the fingertips of Torrance Small.
Kenny, I want to go back a couple plays ago to the turnover. You know, you wonder how Tim Houck, he's in the league 10 years with only 1 interception. His first one today. How does he stay in the league? Watch this hit here. Wham! He puts his helmet right on the ball, and you said it. They call him the missile. Look how he comes up and tackles, and he places his helmet perfectly on the ball. Just accelerates right through the running back to force that fumble. He is a big play, big hit guy.
He's played for 6 teams. He says his goal is to play for all 31.
Well, I'll tell you what, a guy with the kind of determination that he has, I would think the Eagles are going to clamp down on him and keep him right here. You have to have guys like him, I think, to really have a nice fabric on your team. You have young guys, and there are a lot of young guys on this team, but you need to have older guys who are great professionals that the younger guys can look up to and say, yeah, because young guys all want to know how to stay around for 10 years. So you keep a couple guys around there with good work habits to teach everyone else the way.
Torrance Small replaced by Dietrich Gels. McNabb hands the ball off to Deuce Staley. Works his way down to the 15-yard line, a gain of 3. So it will be 3rd and 7 for the Eagles. Torrance Small shake it up. The previous play, a big day for Small. 6 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown.
I think Torrance Small has done a pretty good job too. You know, he's had over 40 catches so far this season, average about 13 coming into this game. He's a pretty solid guy, and I think if they get a great one to go next to him, he'll get even better.
McNabb on 3rd down, hits the fullback, Cecil Martin. And Martin picks up a 1st down, a gain of 9, his 11th catch of the year.
Whenever you run a play like this, you have to have an offensive lineman out there on the edge who can block in space, and this time it's Doug Brzezinski. Watch number 74. He releases DeMarco Farr to the inside. See him there? Now watch him get the block on the defensive back, and he just buries him into the turf. And that's what helps to make this play. Here's Brzezinski right there. It seems easy to block those little guys, but it's hard to get your hands on them.
1st and goal from the 6. Staley bottled up. Tim, coming into the game, one of the Rams' goals defensively was to lead the league in fewest points allowed. They had a 4-point edge coming into the game. They had allowed only 206 points, but they've given up 24 so far today. Most points the Rams have allowed in a game this year, 31. under 12 minutes remaining. 2nd and goal from the Rams 6. McNabb rolling right, looking towards the end zone. Can't find anyone. Takes off and is taken down by Jeff Scanina.
When Donovan McNabb started this game, he wasn't moving as well. I think what's happened is his knee has really warmed up throughout this contest because he's really starting to move the way he did before his injury. I don't think he's back yet completely. That could just be a function of that brace. When you have those knee braces on, it really limits your range of motion in your knee from side to side. I tell you, when I saw him get his knee injured in Dallas, I was shocked that it wasn't more serious than it turned out to be.
3rd and goal. McNabb to the end zone. Touchdown! Chad Lewis. That's against his former club.
Lewis with a little bit of a shuffle there.
Well, he may have learned the bob and weave earlier this season in St. Louis. He played for the Rams. They released him in November, and he was picked up by the Eagles.
That's exactly what he did. He did the bob and weave. That was a perfectly thrown ball by Donovan McNabb.
Check out the numbers on Chad Lewis. 20 career receptions. 7 of the 20 have been touchdowns. Johnson connects on his 300th consecutive extra point, extending his NFL record. The Eagles back on top by a touchdown.
Coverage on the in route, but Donovan McNabb places this ball perfectly.
McNabb's 3rd touchdown pass of the game. Eagles back on top. Tony Horn from the 2. Horn getting a couple of extra yards on the 2nd effort. Felty took a late hit. We'll return to the vet in just a moment. 25-yard return by Horn.
I ate it in Atlanta, so maybe that's why. I ate a Philly cheesesteak in Atlanta and I got sick.
How could you eat a Philly cheesesteak in Atlanta?
Well, I was playing down there and I got hungry. And
Philly cheesesteaks?
Well, the place said Philly cheesesteaks on the outside, so I figured it was the real thing.
You have to have one in Philly. From the 27-yard line, Jermaine's pass is complete. James Hodges up to the 36-yard line, a gain of 9. Well, tonight, kick back and let Fox entertain you on the first Sunday of the millennium with King of the Hill and a special hour of The Simpsons, followed by a bizarre alien encounter. Tim Green eats a Philly cheesesteak in Atlanta on the X-Files tonight on Fox.
I like the X-Files, but I don't like the Philly cheesesteaks.
Turnovers have led to a pair of Eagles touchdowns, 10 Rams points. From the 35, Rams pick up the first down as Jermaine makes the connection with fellow rookie Torrey Holt for a gain of 8 yards.
Well, we talked at the very beginning of this game, Kenny, about how teams, in order to win against the Rams, really do need turnovers. You need to have more turnovers and get big plays. And the Eagles have come up with, they've got 3 turnovers. They picked up 3 turnovers. And as you just saw, 14 points off of that. But the problem is they've also given up 2 turnovers. Mamula's turnover was unbelievable. The one-handed catch, interception, and then the touchdown.
Early in the second half, penalty markers. Free play for the Rams as Holcomb is met by William Thomas. Busy afternoon for Mike Carey and his crew.
Offside. defense number 91. 5 yards, still first down.
You know, Joe Germain has really done a nice job today. That was another completion that will come back, but he's 6 out of 7. And when I talked to Dick Vermeil before the game, he said, Germain is really smart. I said, oh, good. You know, he said, no. He said, I don't mean smart. He said, I mean he's brilliant. He's a brilliant guy, and he has picked up Mike Martz. It's a very complex offense. And Dick Vermeil said the kid, without very many reps at all, has got the whole thing down. He's playing like it.
He did not practice with the offense, with the first-team offense, until Friday. On the end around, Oz Hakeem, first down and more. Down the sidelines, Jermaine throws a block. He threw 2. And Oz Hakeem, on his 4th carry of the year, gains 31 yards.
And Joe Germain blocked both cornerbacks. He blocked Troy Vincent, and then he threw a block on Al Harris. And we've seen this all season long. I think it's kind of a badge of pride for quarterbacks in the NFL. Everyone thinks of Brett Favre throwing blocks downfield. Here's one. He blocks Troy Vincent, and then he keeps going. Watch him here. He's going to block Al Harris.
Well, he tried.
Well, yeah.
1 out of 2.
For a quarterback, that's a block. He's no Doug Brzezinski.
From the 21, Jermaine's pass incomplete, intended for Justin Watson. Jermaine now 6 of 8.
It was interesting. I don't think Dick Vermeil really wanted to pick Joe Germain and use a 4th-round draft pick to pick him, because Dick Vermeil had to win now. He had to win this year. And if you take a quarterback in the 4th round, it's a project for the future. Oh, he's got all kinds of quarterbacks.
The Pro Bowl starter, Trent Green, who had a tremendous year in Washington last year, coming back from his injury. Holcomb spins away from Mamula. All the way down to the Eagles' 5. Mamula thought he had him.
Yeah, I thought he had him too. But we've seen Robert Holcomb make these kinds of runs and these kind of catches a lot this season. He will not go down on the first hit unless you wrap up.
Or the second, or the third.
I think he crumples Troy Vincent. And Jermaine did a nice job just drawing the pressure all the way into him before he dumped that pass off.
First and goal from the Eagles' 6. Jermaine towards the end zone. Bounces away from Jeff Robinson. Remember last week?
Yeah.
One bounced off Robinson and was intercepted by the Bears.
Well, then I remembered Robinson getting tackled by Jim Quirk, the umpire. That made all the highlights this week.
Peter Bleckner, our director, and I were on the same flight with Jim Quirk heading home from St. Louis last week, and I said, Jim, you will be on every highlight film. He said, I know. 2 years ago, similar play, I was on TV. I got calls for people I hadn't spoken to in 30 years.
It was a great tackle.
He played football for the University of Delaware. Second and goal. Holcomb bottled up. A loss of 1 on the play. So it will be 3rd and goal from the 7.
I like the pride that the Philadelphia defense has played with today. It would be easy to kind of fold up and say, well, it doesn't matter that much, and they don't even have their starters in here. But again, I go back to thinking that these guys really want to have the good taste of a win in their mouth through the whole offseason.
Coming off a victory over New England.
Plus, it's kind of an insult to have another team put all their backups in against you.
Jermaine loses the football. It's recovered by Mamula, who's been incredible today. A sack, an interception for a touchdown, and now a fumble recovery.
Jim Johnson sends his defense with all the pressure. Joe Germain loses his shoe and he loses the football.
Eagles loss of a yard.
Well, anytime you have a young quarterback like Joe Germain, you want to give him something he hasn't seen. So they bring both safeties, Brian Dawkins and Rashad Cook, on the blitz, as well as the middle linebacker. And Cook comes clean, and he's the guy that chases Germain out of the pocket, and he's the guy that strips the ball and the shoe. See the shoe there? But as you so adroitly or aptly pointed out, he lost the ball first, then the shoe.
And then Mamula found the ball.
Again.
On second down, McNabb's pass incomplete, looking for the tight end, Luther Broughton.
I thought it was interesting reading this week that Donovan McNabb feels a little upset. I look at some final scores. Tampa Bay, it's like they're going to beat Chicago, and Carolina doing their best to get those points. Wow, that point differential. But Green Bay too with the point differential. I'm going to let you run the math on that. Buffalo beating Indianapolis.
Giants and Dallas at 4. That game, of course, with a huge impact because if Dallas wins, they're in. If the Giants win, it will not matter, at least as far as the Giants are concerned, because Green Bay is winning. They needed a Packers loss to the Arizona Cardinals. From the 22. Horn out of bounds. Forced out by Ike Reese. 47-yard punt. 7 yards on the return. In attendance, and his Rams trail by 7. They lost a 3-point game here last year. 17-14. Germain on first down, under pressure, and the pass is short, intended for Robert Holcomb. Well, Dick Vermeil arrived here at Veterans Stadium early this morning, and everywhere he went, hugs, congratulatory handshakes for the 13-2 season.
137 hugs, an NFL record.
137? 136.
Well,
It would have been 137.
No, it was 137.
Well, no, this is not a hug.
No, I know.
That does not count as a hug.
I know, they didn't count that, but then later he gave me a hug that you didn't catch on camera, the full hug. Not just the neck hug. He gave me the full hug when I said goodbye to him and good luck for the rest of the season.
He gives our director, Peter Bleckner, a huge hug every time they meet. They work together in the television business.
Sure. Well, he talked about Terry Bradshaw being the guy that taught him how to be an announcer. Really, it was Peter Bleckner.
Dick spent a number of years doing color analysis on college and NFL games, hoping to get back to the Super Bowl this season. 31-24. Rams with rookie Joe Germain at quarterback, and his pass deflected, picked off by Rashad Cook. The 5th Rams turnover, Cook's first career interception. He's a rookie out of USC, and he returns it 28 yards.
Ball is thrown in here to Azazir Hakim. Brian Dawkins breaks up on it. Hakim looked like he never even looked like he almost didn't even see the pass. Watch, that looked catchable. It looked like Hakim wasn't focusing on the ball at all, and he's had kind of mentally an off day today. As you said, it's the 5th turnover. Watch Hakim. I mean, watch where this ball goes. No, that's my fault. Well, it wasn't my fault, but it was Joe Germain's fault. But Hakim was focused on that. From that other angle, it looked like it went right through his hands.
From the 26 of the Rams, McNabb, pump fakes, looking end zone, looking Torrance Small. Incomplete, no flags. Minnesota with the touchdown lead over Detroit late fourth quarter.
Carolina trying not only to win, but win that net point contest with Green Bay. And Green Bay battling the point contest as well. Kansas City with that edge over Oakland. The Jets upsetting Seattle.
Jets finish 8-8.
That's been a heck of a team. Tampa Bay locks up the NFC Central title.
McNabb calls timeout. Washington has already clinched the East, so the Rams now know they cannot play Washington or Tampa Bay in their first playoff game as division winners. Rams cannot play one of those two teams.
Right, they'll be in the other bracket. So you know that the competition for the Rams, at least in that first game, is going to come from the lower tier, Minnesota, Detroit, and the winner of all these here.
And the Rams coach.
The Giants, by the way, if Green Bay, when they're winning, the Giants are going to be out of it. And then Green Bay and Carolina, their help, they both need, all right, the Giants will be out of it if Green Bay wins. And Green Bay and Carolina are both going to need the Giants, even though they're out of it, to knock off Dallas. And then the winner of the net points battle between Green Bay and Carolina will go in.
So even though the Giants will be eliminated once the Packers game is over, that Dallas Giants game still means everything as far as the last NFC playoff spot, because a Dallas win and the Cowboys are in, but if the Giants win, it will be either Green Bay or Carolina.
Right, it'll mean something to one, because Green Bay and Carolina will know who's going to win the net point differential at the end of this day. Right now, Green Bay, last we checked, was winning 42-17. That gives them 25-point differential plus their 18 they had. And Carolina was winning 45-7, which gives them a 38-point. A lot of math here, Kenny. So it's 43 points for Green Bay, 38 points for Carolina.
So right now, Green Bay has the edge, but those games are not over. The pass deflected. And for the Rams today, despite the fact that they trail this game by 7 points, they set many more team and league records. The 7th team to score 500 points in the NFL. Kurt Warner, a team record, 4,353 passing yards. He also threw his 40th and 41st touchdown pass. Marshall Faulk breaks Barry Sanders' record. Jeff Wilkins ties the NFC point after record, and the Rams also set a club record with 57 sacks. Norm Johnson will attempt a 38-yard field goal for the Eagles to try and extend their lead. And Johnson's kick is wide right. Remember, David Akers hit earlier from 46. This time it's Johnson on the shorter attempt, and he misses.
Well, Kenny, the Rams obviously aren't out of this game. They got another chance. But even if the Rams don't win this game and they go 13-3, I don't think it's going to affect their momentum for the playoffs, because these guys came out of the game so early. Marshall Faulk was out, and then Faulk left before the halftime. And Isaac Bruce came out after the halftime, and Kurt Warner looked like he was frustrated, and they let him have another drive, and he just went zip right down the field and scored a touchdown pass. So I think that even if the Rams don't win this, they're going to say, hey, look, you know, we could have won it. And right now, I'm sure Kurt Warner's saying, hey, put me back in the game and let's just go win this thing. But I don't think Dick Vermeil's going to do it.
No. Game means absolutely nothing as far as playoffs, home field. That is already clinched. Holcomb, big run into Eagles territory with 4.5 remaining, as Holcomb gains 35 yards.
Yeah, these guys, the Holcombs and Jermaines and the backup guys on the line, Ryan Tucker and Andy McCollum, they want to win this game. They want to do their part, and they want to come out and win. But Philly, on the other hand, as I said, it's an insult to have the backup players put in after the halftime and not be able to beat them.
Big day for Holcomb in relief for Faulk. From the 37, Holcomb again. Oh, big hit by Rashard Cook.
Well, you have to admire Holcomb just for getting up. You have to admire Cook for the pop. Wow.
With that that run a new career high for Holcomb with 85 yards.
Cook is a rookie who was waived by Chicago.
Let's listen.
Wow, that was a heck of a hit.
It's a good thing they're wearing helmets. From the 29. Did not find anyone, and then throws it away with 3:05 remaining. Tim, this is the last regular season game, our last telecast, and we would like to thank everybody who's taken part throughout this 1999 season with Fox. Our producer today, P.T. Navarro, Director Peter Blechter, Associate Director Bob Grossman, Broadcast Associate Robert Slosby, Technical Producer Kevin McRoby, as well as the crew, Dave Bernstein, Steve Baldwin, Gene Matthews, Mike Address, Jay Clark, Jeff Morello, Bill Murillo, Dan Smith, Jamie McCombs, Eric Merlis, Barry Hockhauser, Brent Bowman, Dave Brooks, Mark Cole, Mike Eldridge, and Eric Norton. Thanks, guys. And also, as the Rams lose it again, the 6th St. Louis turnover. The Eagles with 6 takeaways in the game, and it's Tim Houck who came up with it. How about the Eagles defense from Mamula and Houck and Rashard Cook right on down? What a job today.
Oh, we talk about it right from the start, Kenny. Mamula trips him up. Gardner comes in and gets the hit. But you said, the only games the Rams have lost, they've lost the turnover battle. They were -5 in the 2 games they lost to Detroit and Tennessee. Now they're -4 in this game here against the Philadelphia Eagles. He said that's the only way you can beat the Rams, and that's how the Eagles are beating them.
So the Eagles will take over on their own 32. The pregame show produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. The senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown, and the executive producers Ed Gorin and David Hill. 3 minutes to go. Eagles by a touchdown. Here's Staley. And unlike Tim Green, Rich Russo, Jeff Gowen, who have been with us throughout the year, those guys not able to work 2 games in one weekend. They worked the Cotton Bowl with you yesterday, but we would like to thank them as well.
Yep, those guys were great contributors, and I want to thank you, Kenny Albert. What a great pleasure it's been to do another year of football on Fox with you.
4 years for us, 6 years on Fox. What a season it's been as we enter the new millennium, and the St. Louis Rams, despite trailing today, heading to the playoffs. Last year, the Falcons, the surprise of the NFC, they won 14 games, and Dick Vermeil's Rams with 13 wins this year as we head towards the 2-minute warning, but the Rams call a timeout, stopping the clock with 2:08 remaining.
But I think that's why, you talk about Dick Vermeil's Rams, you talk about what happened last year. But wait, we better get to this stat first. Did you put this together?
Wow, 13-1.
So they love to see us coming, right?
13-1 whole team.
This will make it 14-1 if the Eagles can prevail here.
Carolina, the only road team we have seen win in San Francisco back in October.
Yeah. But back to the playoff thing. Even though the Rams still are the standard, despite what happens today, and despite the fact that because we're here and the home team usually has to win, but they're still the standard. But you have to watch these other teams and the rest of the playoffs develop, because I go back to what happened last year. We talked about it before. Atlanta, no one predicted that Atlanta. Everyone said Minnesota, and they had the offensive juggernaut, and they were the team that was on a roll. I think definitely the Rams are the standard this season. They're the team to beat. You have to watch what the competition is doing, and if they're peaking, if they get on a roll at the right time, in order to be able to knock off the Rams.
Dietrich Gels could not hang on. Rams and the Buccaneers will have the byes next week in the NFC. So the other 4 teams will battle it out, the 2 wild card games.
Offense number 63. is declined. Fourth down.
And remember, if it is Minnesota who the Rams face in the NFC Championship, that means the Vikings will have to win 2 games on the road before then.
And then face the Rams in the Dome, and what great crowds they have in St. Louis. And that has been, they're 8-0 there for a lot of reasons. And that crowd noise in that Dome is a tremendous help. It confounds the opposing offense. They get quiet. When you're on offense, you can make your adjustments.
Tony Horn. Terrific special teams effort. Only 1 yard on the return. Jason Bostic made the tackle, bringing down Horn with 1:55 remaining. Looking for their 5th victory of the year.
Look at Koy Detmer. I mean, he had his helmet on almost the whole game. His forehead's all red, and his hair, he's got that helmet head hair from wearing his helmet on the sideline.
Wants to get back in.
I know it.
Started 5 games last year, only 1 this year.
He's a fun guy to watch play. And he's just put his helmet back on again. They're on defense, and he's the backup quarterback with his helmet on.
Jermaine to Holcomb, hard hit. Jeremiah Trotter. Is he pumped up or what?
Wow. We talked about him before. When he gets there, he likes to bring it. He brings everything he's got, and he's playing with a natural ability. And he's mentally into it, and his timing is perfect. This is the play before. Another pop.
Eagles wanted to go out on a winning note, on a high. They beat New England 2 weeks ago. They were off last week. They practiced very well and are a minute 25 from beating the NFC regular season champions, albeit without Falk, Warner, and Bruce in the second half.
But to Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb and Houck and Trotter and Rashard Cook, those guys don't care. A win is a win.
Another interception
and a touchdown.
For the touchdown, Al Harris. Touchdown for Al Harris, and the second by the Eagles defense today. Eagles with a season-high 38 points, the most scored against the Rams. It is now 38-24 Philadelphia.
This is just fun for the Philadelphia Eagles. They drop everybody into coverage with a 3-man rush. And this thing is just lofted right into Al Harris's hands. That's the thing you dream about.
Harris starting for the injured Bobby Taylor, who suffered a broken jaw in the New England game.
And Jermaine tries to loft it up over the top of Harris. But Harris just leaps up in front of it. As you said, second touchdown for the Eagles defense. 7 turnover for the Eagles defense. And that's a great feeling that they can carry from their win against New England and then the bye week, and now they're going to have this win to take them all through the offseason. They've got a young team, and they've got a young quarterback who has all the talent in the world and everything in front of him. And Andy Reid, I know, will go out this offseason. They'll get another wide receiver and a big-time guy with great deep speed and all the talents you'd want, and make him a connection for Donovan McNabb. Look at McNabb, big grin on his face.
Tim, this is the second straight game in which the Eagles forced 7 turnovers. The Patriots committed 7 turnovers in their last game. Tony Horn, as we approach a minute remaining, Horn tries to hurdle a couple of Eagles. 19 yards on the return, and the Rams' 7-game win streak will come to an end as they will enter the playoffs 13-3, while the Eagles will make it 5 up and 11 down as the officials sort things out.
The play was over. Personal foul on the defense, number 58. 15 yards. First down.
Ike Reese called for the personal foul. Coming up next Sunday on Fox, the NFC Wild Card Playoff game. It all starts with the pregame show. Check local listings for the game and time right here on Fox.
You know, interestingly, Kenny, you talked to Peter Junta, and he told you that one of the teams that kind of concerns the Rams or concerns the coaching staff is Detroit. They may be in that NFC Wild Card game next week.
Jermaine hooking up with Torrey Holt for the touchdown. 63 yards. That was fast.
That sure was. You know the Rams are going to do an onside kick now.
Well, the Rams go over 30 points once again.
Well, this is Jason Bostic. He came up from the practice squad this week, and he is not prepared for the speed and the moves of Torrey Holt. And a perfect throw by Joe Germain.
First career touchdown pass for Germain.
Almost missed that one.
He almost missed, but he sets the new NFC record, 64. And the Rams, in a wild one, are back within a touchdown. And Detroit, as you mentioned, one of the teams the Rams were concerned with because the Lions beat the Rams during the season and would perhaps come into that game with confidence, although the Lions head to the playoffs, Tim, now with 4 consecutive losses. They lost to Minnesota today, and they have lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, they have looked absolutely terrible.
Green Bay 49, Arizona 24, so that will eliminate the New York Giants. Kansas City by a field goal. Giants trail Dallas by a field goal. Washington, Miami just underway. Carolina 45-13 over New Orleans.
That won't be enough points to beat Green Bay.
No, because Carolina wins by 32, but Green Bay is winning by 25, and they already have the 18-point edge. The onside kick still loose, recovered by the Eagles. Dave Brown on the bottom of the pile.
Well, that was a great kick by Jeff Wilkins. That's as good as the kicker can do, to bounce that thing off the turf, arc it up there, and have it bombling around. But the Eagles come up with the ball. So, Kenny, the way the scores are now, take a look at this onside kick. Again, plenty of opportunity here. Thing went way up. Dre Bly almost had it. The Eagles do come up with it, Nate Brown, but Carolina will be out, and Green Bay
Giants
will
will be
need
out.
the Giants to win. Giants will be out. Green Bay, so it will either be Green Bay or Dallas, depending on who wins. Dallas wins, they're in. Giants win, Green Bay is in.
Yes.
And the thing about both of those teams that's so dangerous, Green Bay or Dallas, is they've got the great quarterbacks.
So Detroit enters the playoffs 8-8, and it will be either Dallas or Green Bay at 8-8 as well. The Rams have one timeout, and they will use it right here. They stop the clock with 54 seconds remaining. Tampa Bay has clinched the bye with their victory over Chicago. They win 11, finish 11-5. Minnesota finishes 10-6 in the NFC Central.
Well, I would expect that either Dallas or Green Bay, who will play Detroit next week in Fox's wild card game, I would expect Dallas or either of those teams to beat Detroit. Because, as you said, Detroit is on a 4-game losing streak, and they not only are they losing, but they're not looking good at all.
Well, it will be Washington, Minnesota, Detroit, and then either Dallas or Green Bay as the 4 wild card teams next week in the NFC, with the Rams and the Buccaneers awaiting the winners of those 2 games. Rams do not have any timeouts remaining, so the Eagles will be able to run out the clock, and they will win their 2nd consecutive game, their 5th victory of the season. 3 touchdown passes for the first time in Donovan McNabb's NFL career. Marshall Faulk, the new single-season record holder in the NFL in total yards from scrimmage. So the Rams' 7-game win streak is history, and Dick Vermeil is now 0-2 back in Philadelphia as head coach of the Rams. The Eagles win it 38-31. So the Rams head to the playoffs 13-3. Their 3 losses to the Lions, the Titans, and